Hello and welcome to the CastNet podcast. I'm your host, Mahendra Gossai, and to my right I have
Ryan Sahadeo.
And to my left I have
Kevin Rain.
And welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit lighter subject today. We're going to be talking about food and food in general, right? So we have a couple levels of food. We have fast food, we have fast casual as they're calling it these days. And then we have like some regular dining and then maybe some fine dining, right? And we'll get into all of that. Just some show notes. If you haven't clicked like and subscribe, please do. That does help us continue the podcast and make sure that we have new episodes, and you'll be able to be informed of all of our new episodes once you're subscribed to the podcast. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Soon, hopefully, around the world. So maybe we should actually put in some definitions there, right? So fast food, I would define that, and you guys could agree or disagree with me. So fast food would be something like your McDonald's, your Wendy's, and so on, right? Like your drive-thrus with maybe not necessarily drive-thrus, but kind of like one of those kind of establishments where, wow, it's kind of like one of those things you can't define very well. But the fast food is kind of like one of the major chains that you kind of know of. Whereas fast casual would be like your Chipotles, right? Where they
there's a sit down element to it.
Yeah, there's a sit down element in fast food too, right? So that's why it's kind of so hard, right? I think it's more of more upgraded because it's not like they're I don't think they're you know what it is? There's no assembly line in fast casuals. There's nobody in the back punching out 20 McNuggets and burgers and stuff like that. Whereas fast casual Chipotle, they're cooking, but they're doing batches of food, and then you kind of go down the line. I guess there's maybe a gray area. Do you have a better definition, you think?
I focus on more fast, so just quick service, and I put a lot in it because of that. Just it can be I use polished casual for a little bit more elevated, but it's still quick. So a cava to me would be a polished casual, but because it is nicer than a Chipotle, or it's a little bit more upscale.
What about Pollo Tropical?
I'd say that's a little bit more casual. It's all fast food to me.
Sure.
But I have a big umbrella on fast. Fast, I focus on the speed of service.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, okay. You mentioned they're polished casual. Is that different from fast casual?
It is a bit, yeah. So it's slightly more elevated. I would say cava is a good example. There was another you concept that I think is still around
Fazoli's?
In the US. I don't know if it's Fazoli's, but it was the same concept of Chipotle, where you build your own bowl, your own pasta bowl, and you chose the pasta, you chose the proteins, and it was a little bit more of
sweet tomato?
No, but I would say that's polished casual. I would say that's they've put more intention on the dining experience there, and that's polished casual. Just it's a little bit of a fancier place, but it's still quick. Quick service. It's not also I think a good delineation as well is if there's wait staff, if there's a service, or if you're being waited on. I think that takes you out. That takes you out of the fast casual, fast food.
Right, that's basically sit down restaurant.
That's sit down restaurant for sure. Yeah, I agree with Ryan there.
Right.
But I think for our viewers, we're gonna set some rules so that we don't have some gray areas and get everybody confused. I think fast food, we should define that as your McDonald's, your Wendy's, your Chick-fil-A's, kind of in those kind of categories. If you see it, you know it kind of thing for a definition.
Okay.
And I think for fast casuals, I think something like a Chipotle, I think it does get gray with the Pollo Tropical. I think, to be honest, I kind of put it with the fast casuals, in my opinion. And that's my opinion. I know you put it probably with the fast food, but I think it's a little bit different from the McDonald's and the Wendy's. But I think that's where I want to put it for now, at least for the sake of the podcast. And then I did different levels of restaurants after that. So you have your This one's easier. I think you're definitely your casual dining, like your Applebee's, your TGI Fridays, your
Sure, so like a chain restaurant. In that
yeah,
sense.
well, not necessarily out there, but then because you have some chain dining restaurants that are fine dining too, right? Like so you have your Ruth Chris, right? That's a chain restaurant.
Okay,
That's fine
sure.
dining, right? So I would say income threshold would define fine dining. So something that's really expensive, I guess, in the fine dining area. I mean, that's in general terms, right? It's not always the case, but I think that's like your Ruth Chris is you're paying a lot more for the steak than you are an Outback Steakhouse, right?
Yeah, like-
and it's a
Right,
different
okay.
quality altogether, but I'm just saying, just for the sake of our viewers, I think that's where we're going to put them in those kind of categories.
Okay.
Fair.
Yeah? Did you
Yeah.
have a comment? Sound like you had something.
No.
like that.
I was echoing what you said. I think check average plays into it. If it's like more elevated dining, you're going to
Yeah.
expect to pay more at certain places. So
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
If they're changing your cloths from white to black
good sign.
in a season,
Or red.
that is there red? There's a red one?
Yeah, there's a red cloth.
Nah, I mean,
I've seen them
traditionally-
for like around Valentine's Day and some
Oh,
restaurants.
so like
not all.
themes, restaurant themes. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know like they do summer, and then winter, and have white and then black, right?
Yeah.
So it's just white and black.
Yeah, and then if they're changing that, then that's usually a good sign that that's fine dining, right? So
Fair.
that's usually a sign, I think. And if they're coming by and they're scraping that table with that shaver blade, I think that's considered fine dining because no one at Outback has ever done that for me. So I think that's definitely
The closest to come is polishing the table, right?
yeah, that's true. Okay, so let's get into. I think we start with off our first category, and let's do fast food and fast casual. Let's actually kind of combine them, I think, because there is a little bit of gray area here. But let's talk about deals. So lately, to give the premise here, a lot of things have been changing in the last, I would say, couple years, and then people have been noticing that they could probably get. Like, for an example, I'll just say an example with Chipotle. They could probably get a bowl of Chipotle and pay the same price than they would at a fast food restaurant, right? And then a lot of people consider some of the fast casuals to be better quality food than their fast food options. So they've noticed that, and the trend with some of the fast food has been not great. So your KFCs, your McDonald's, your Wendy's, your Chick-fil-A's, maybe not Chick-fil-A, so they still get a crowd, but they noticed a decline to the point where I was reading the news article that McDonald's, where they historically have grown, like for almost every quarter, basically, have only grown, they still grew, but it was like 1%. And that was a big sign for them where they woke up. And now a lot of you might see it on influencer feeds and a lot of deals coming in through the apps and then also some television episodes. You'll notice that they've actually now created like a better value menu. And they've dropped some prices. So, and then now I just heard the other day, $8 Big Mac meal, right? So there's like, wow, that's pretty good. And then, you have in the app, you could get stuff like free fries with a purchase of a couple bucks. And there's a lot of good deals out there. So I think highlighting some of those deals, I think is interesting. And so McDonald's, I personally saw in the apps, like they're trying to get you to use these apps. It is no doubt. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were about to say something. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna just chime in and say I think McDonald's is one that actually started the app trend, if I remember correctly, because
Okay.
it feels like almost every restaurant at that level has an app and a rewards program. Like I know Burger King definitely does, Dunkin' Donuts does, McDonald's started the trend. Like just yesterday you mentioned trends in the app. I had for McDonald's reference to. I get a fish fillet and I get a free medium fry when I buy a fish fillet. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty much a complete meal right there, and I only pay for one item. Like, that's not bad at all.
True. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a great deal. And there's some. By the way, we're not sponsored by any of these restaurants. By the way,
Yet.
Yet.
Yes.
I like that. Yet. We definitely, if you do want to sponsor us, feel free to send us an email at castnetpod@gmail.com, or if you want to drop us a comment, of course. I think that's a great comment there, Ryan. Yeah, they did start. I think it did started with them, right? And then I also find it interesting that Burger King is like a little bit slighted. So they've just been taking on everybody, right? They're calling shots out. They're calling out McDonald's. They're calling out Wendy's. They're calling out everybody. They're just like, hey, we're going to go in there. We're going to revamp this Whopper. We're gonna start blasting everybody else's quality. We're gonna recruit the person from Popeyes that made the spicy chicken sandwich that went viral, and we're gonna just revamp this menu a lot. And we're gonna just come out there and we're just gonna throw shots at everybody. And I thought that was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny you mentioned the throwing shots at everybody, because I know that whoever's been running all of their social medias, from McDonald's to Burger King to Wendy's to Chick-fil-A, is doing an amazing job on Twitter. Like, have you seen some of those wars? It's hilarious.
No, please inform me. Tell me what's going on. I saw some of the memes, but I couldn't tell. Come tell us more.
So whoever has been doing marketing for any of those brands, we'd love to talk to you just for sponsorship. But non-sponsorship wise, I think you guys have been doing a really great job. It's really interesting when they start getting into the wars of like who's got the better sandwich. And they throw shots at each other. Like, the lines are just hilarious. And the back and forth banter. And then all of a sudden, like, 2 or 3 decide to chip in. And then the others, like, gang up on them. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're not even in this category. So, yeah, it's been pretty fun to read. But I would say a lot of the memes that you've seen are 100% accurate. But, yeah, that was a brilliant marketing play to get people in, for sure.
Mm-hmm. What about fast casual for you? You see any wars going on there? Are you thinking... Like, what do you think about... I would ask. So you work nearby your job, like you live nearby your job. Sorry, you should work nearby your job. but like when you need to grab something quick and get back to the office, what are you really thinking about? What do you?
Yeah, I'd say like if we're talking about fast food, I think of like proximity. I think about like what's the most streamlined. The apps have played into it as well. Like personally, I mean they're all like within a stone's throw away from each other. They're never too, like a Burger King is never too far from a McDonald's in my experience. I'm sure that varies across the country, but for me it's like historically there's been rise and falls of the fast food brands in my heart. And when I was a kid it was Burger King, and that was the king, no pun intended. I even think like just nowadays that is like the closest to like if you're craving a backyard burger. I think their burger's much more distinct. Like it's closer to like if you felt like grilling burgers, like on the holiday. Like it's to me, not saying I cook to that quality, but it's closer. I would say like McDonald's and Wendy's are in a different category. For me. It just like in the type of burger specifically I'm craving. But yeah, I think when I want something quick, I think of like just how streamlined that experience is, how long the line is, or just how efficient they are. So for me, like Chick-fil-A has encapsulated that really well of like checking all the boxes for me of like they're efficient, they do have a line, but they really push you through that if you've ever been there recently. And, it's relatively healthy. They have like grilled options. I try to be kind of like sensitive on like some of the foods I eat, like, and just getting older, can't do too much fried stuff. But, I'd say Chick-fil-A for me is king. Get a relatively healthy meal there. I would say Wendy's, and back in the day, like it used to be, I think when I first discovered their app, it used to be like just unbeatable with the deals that they would have. But I was like more resistant to kind of downloading all the apps.
Right.
I felt kind of more like this is getting out of control with my fast food habits if I have like a whole folder for just fast food apps. But I've been there, and I think a lot of it is just proximity plays into it. But like if I had my choice, probably be Chick-fil-A, and then second Wendy's, like, and that's more of like the burger category for me if I'm going there. But depending on the day, McDonald's can win that war. Burger King could win that war of my craving that day.
Staying on that topic real quick, I have a spin-off question for you. Mm-hmm. Would you say, and this is going off of what you mentioned about not wanting to download all the apps, but also in addition to like your choice of like say a lunch item for when you're working, same for you, Mahendra, would you say that you guys not suffer from but are aware of like decision fatigue when it comes to options? Like, do you understand where I'm going with that? So do you feel like that plays a role in what you would pick for lunch as opposed to, let's say, maybe what you're craving for that day?
Yeah.
So
I would agree. Yes, it does decision fatigue, considering like a lot of those options that we were just talking about are pretty much have the same stuff, except
Right.
for like Chick-fil-A. It's like unique, right? They don't serve burgers. They're all chicken. And welcome if you've never knew that. I don't know. You might have been under a rock to not know that, but yeah, I think so too. He's like, what do you want? Like, and how much time do I have too? Because if I have deadlines to meet and I need to get back to work, it's going to be something quick, and it may not be the best option that I wanted, but it'd be the closest thing to me and something I could get done and eat fast. If I have some meetings to go to, especially if I have like some Zoom meetings, right? Like if I have to go to some Zoom meetings, maybe it's something I could just wolf down really fast and then get onto a Zoom meeting, and you'd be surprised how much you're working, and then you're like looking at the clock. Oh man, I have to eat because this meeting is gonna be an hour, so I definitely gotta get something going. But yeah, that would play into my decision too. Yeah, definitely fatigue, but also like how much time I have available too, right? How about you, Kev?
I'd say it's primarily time. I think there's like a matrix and different functions of just like how I reach that decision. But I'm thinking back to like Uber Eats is probably the one place I have the most decision fatigue, and then like I'll be circling like all of these different menus, and then I'm just so tired, so hungry. That I'm like losing the ability to make decisions, and then I miss the whole window entirely. But I'd say back to the original question, just about like fast food options. I think like those ones I listed, McDonald's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A. One, I'll think of like how much time do I have? If it's quick, I would want to go to a place. If I'm pressed for time, I want to go to a place where they can make it to order right then and there on the spot. Like I don't have to wait an extended period for prep time. Like there's other like a little bit more fancier spots that they might have like a lead time, 10, 15 minutes until you pick up your order, which you can still do. I think you can, but it all depends. So I like how we'll have options like in my head, just at work. You kind of get into the routines, what's nearby. And then, yeah, if I have like 30 minutes, it's limited to those fast food drive-thrus. Maybe like if you want to put like a Wawa in there or a gas station, like that's because they have ready hot food like on the ready, there. But if I have like say 45 minutes, like into an hour, then that expands the world a little bit more.
Yeah. You might be willing to get into Chipotle line that's around the corner, and
right?
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of get down into one of those fast food, fast casual establishments and kind of pace it out, and it kind of opens the world a little bit more. Maybe I get a poke bowl, maybe I get a smoothie and a wrap, or there's a couple of different options around. It unlocks a little bit more bento or something like that. I don't know.
So I thought about that was interesting. You said about the decision fatigue with the Uber Eats app, right? Because that's not the same items. Mm-hmm. It's different items. So you're getting fatigued with the overwhelming amount of options as opposed to the limited options, right? Or the same options, right? Because I thought that was really interesting. So something to think about. Yeah, I think if there's a lot of options, that's also a lot of fatigue as well. Mm-hmm. That's really interesting.
I think it's also, we talked about cost earlier. I think another part of it too is like, I don't know if anyone's actually paid attention, but like the cost of the items on Uber Eats as opposed to, let's say, through their regular app is vastly more expensive.
Yeah.
And then they charge all these extra fees for what?
Yeah, I mean,
sometimes you order like a $10 item, you pay double the price just to get it to you for convenience.
Yeah, that's true. I've often seen a lot of people Uber Eats McDonald's and other fast food items, and I was like, wow, that's tremendously a lot more money. But at the same time too, like what I hear from people though is that they try to look for the like in Uber Eats app, there is like a deal going on. There's no delivery fee at this point, or this fee and that stuff, and they kind of just do that. Or if a restaurant's trying to promote something,
like a buy one get one.
Yeah, they'll like do a buy one get one, or they'll that's a great point. Yeah, they'll do like a buy one get one, or they'll do like a big discount, or they'll cover the fees in the price because they're trying to promote their restaurant in the app itself, right? It's digitizing the world, right? Like, so we're even digitizing our fast food. That's insane to me. Like, I'm in technology, people. So I'm in technology, and it always fascinates me how much we're digitizing everything, and even down to our food orders, like just go getting food. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I think that's that gives a good thing. I think I'm going to ask you a controversial question, both of you.
Sure.
Okay. Controversial, people. They're going to go Five Guys. Fast food or not? Fast casual?
No.
Step above McDonald's?
So
right.
you posed 3 questions there. I'll answer them.
It was kind of like, yeah, sorry.
In order, in the way you asked them. Fast food or not, I would deem it as fast food.
Okay.
Step above McDonald's, depending on what you order, possibly. I would say their fries are a lot better because they're Cajun fries. But
shout out to Cajun fries.
I would say, what was the last one you asked? Like, are they considered
fast casual?
Fast casual. I would say, depending on location, possibly, because I think the franchise itself has rules for their franchise, but depending on where the franchise location actually sits and in which city, it might be a little bit bigger of a restaurant as opposed to others. So you might have a slightly better, like, fine casual dining experience as opposed to, just running in, picking up, and leaving.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking back to your comment just about like the drive-through element, and like I didn't want to harp too much on that, but
yeah,
I think it is a distinguishing element to fast food to fast casual, at least in my book. And everybody, it's fair. It's a subjective category of how you want to categorize things. But I mean, I'm sure someone can argue against me that there's a more upscale concept that happens to have a drive-through. I mean, it's possible.
I was only trying to do that because when I was trying to look up the definition, they used Chipotle as an example of fast casual, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So like, and they have a drive-through, which was bugging me, right? Not all of the locations do, but they do.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I just thought of this. Their drive-through, though, is not the traditional drive-through. Mm-hmm. You can't just go up to the window and order.
Yeah.
You have to order before.
Yeah.
And it just gives you the option of picking it up from a window.
Yeah.
Later on, like within like 10, 15 minutes or something. You have to order ahead and then go pick it up. Mm-hmm. Like you can't just sit at a box and order your food and then pull around to the next window like every other fast food.
Yeah.
It's fast casual and they're preparing your food and they have to get that done. So therefore, that's why, in my opinion, why Five Guys is fast casual. Because maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I've ever seen a drive-thru in a Five Guys. We live in the Central Florida area. I haven't seen one.
Yeah, I haven't either.
And they do make it to order, right? Does Shake Shack have a drive-thru?
Yes.
It does.
I think some locations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if Five Guys, certain locations have a drive-thru.
It wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen one.
Right.
And like Shake Shack too. Like I have a hard time putting Five Guys and Shake Shack in the same category.
To me, like there's the Venn diagram, and there's a lot of concepts that are both fast food and fast casual to me at the same time.
Yeah, I'm gonna defer to when you're basically calling it all fast food. At some point,
just speed of service.
Yeah, pretty much.
Speed of service to me is fast food.
Yeah. What do you think?
I'd agree. I think speed of service is what I think a lot of Americans had in mind when they first came up with the concept of fast food. Right?
Yeah.
Like, if anyone's ever watched the McDonald's documentary, right? They talk about their assembly line of how they make their sandwiches. Yeah. And it's like, what is it, from counter to order in like 30 seconds? I forget what the actual statistic was.
I don't remember what the time was. Yeah.
But it was like so fast, and it blew like Ray Kroc's mind of like how fast it can get meals out that quick. And it's like,
and a simplified menu too,
right? And a simplified menu. So I think what started as a simplified menu became ballooned to different options. And I think based off of how people are feeling, they're going to pick on, like what you guys have touched on, time I think they're going to pick on whether or not they feel like sitting down at the restaurant, right? So, that'll influence kind of where they go versus where they don't.
Yeah.
And then like in this concept of like Chipotle, like you mentioned, fast casual, I found it really interesting for them, especially because I've ordered Chipotle in the past. I find it really interesting that they have the drive-through lane. They give you the option to pick it up, but when you're waiting too long to get it, guess where it's sitting? It's sitting in the store in the front for you can just walk in and go pick it up yourself. You don't even have to get it. So it's like, what's the point of having the lane if half the time you walk in the store to go pick it up anyways?
First time in America, we're super lazy on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We want to stay
For
in
sure.
our car. We do not want to park.
For sure.
This is an extra step.
Yeah. For sure.
Commodified convenience.
I don't know. That's interesting. Going back to your other question though, because I was thinking about this for a little bit, like when you say like menu fatigue and stuff like that, and I was thinking in my head some of the same options. Something that stands out to me two things that stand out to me whenever I get those kind of menu fatigue for like Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's, stuff, KFC, and Taco Bell, because now you're having fast food Mexican, Tex-Mex, and then fast food fried chicken, right? And you also have in a combination of there, since you're on KFC, I guess you could talk about Popeyes too, right? So, they have churches too, and depending on what region you are in the country, there's different like fried chicken versions across the country. That's what we have here in Central Florida. We recently have, I guess, Raising Cane's too, I guess is be considered fast food too. So like all these other chicken options, Chick-fil-A, obviously.
Zaxby's.
Fast food? Zaxby's?
I've actually never been to Zaxby's, so I can't tell you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I kind of put them in the same category as like maybe even Panda Express, and I guess that's
really?
fast casual because they're fast casual. I put them in like fast casual categories, right? I put Chipotle, Panda Express, Zaxby's in these fast casual categories because they're a little bit different from the fast food, in my opinion.
Okay.
And I know this doesn't make sense, but it's kind of like how I perceive them. Right? It's like how I perceive the company and the food and the quality, I guess, maybe. Not that the other qualities are so bad because, hey, I'm an avid fast food eater. I've eaten plenty of them. We've eaten them plenty of times.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. So I just think it's a different kind of food and different kind of experience that you're looking for later on.
Fair.
But yeah, I would put them in that category, Panda Express too, because we haven't really touched on that too. So Panda, not a fan of the fried rice at Panda, but I am.
That's the most controversial thing you've said.
Is it?
Yes.
You love the fried rice at Panda?
No.
If you
saying you love the fried rice.
No, I don't like.
okay.
I don't like it.
Fair
but
enough.
what I do like is all of their like the orange chicken, the Beijing beef, and all that stuff. So it complements the rice with it. So maybe if the rice was different or more seasoned or whatever, maybe would have taken away from that. So maybe that's why, because they try to complement their stuff. So I do like those other items you put on the rice as opposed to the rice itself. But I mean, that's to each its own on that, but it's pretty good. But Ryan, looks like you're eager to say something about this.
No, it's funny you mentioned Panda Express and not liking their fried rice, because if you ever followed Iron Chef,
Okay.
yeah, he makes so much fun of Panda Express because he's like, this is not Chinese food at all.
Yeah.
Like
I wouldn't claim that it is. I just think it has a panda on it.
I think his son brought Panda Express to him, like, hey dad, like I brought Chinese food, and he goes, what is this? Like, this is not even food. He ends up like making a whole YouTube video, which we'll probably link somewhere above, but we'll like he actually takes the time to recook the food and make it like 5-star quality.
Puts it in a wok or something?
Yeah, like fries it up back in a wok, and he's like, yeah, they just, he starts adding in a little bit of seasoning, whatever, and he makes it better, and he's just like, their chicken is just way too sweet, like the seasoning is just off. He goes, to each their own, I suppose, but he is a professional chef, so it's like,
I would say whatever sometimes it like hits, right? Like, for example, like I like a McDonald's burger, and there's nothing like a Big Mac for me too. It's sometimes you just want that particular taste.
Yeah.
You may in your opinion, have a better burger somewhere else or whatever, but there's a particular taste that you're craving, and nothing will hit that spot like that. So I think that's what Panda does too. Like, there's a particular taste. I think, but yeah, I would. But no, I agree with you. Like, maybe but that was really interesting. So he buys the food, and instead of eating it, he just recooks it all. That's like, oh,
yeah. He's like, this thing has no taste, and he just recooks it.
He might as well just cooked it himself, right? What do you think about those locations there?
Panda specifically?
Panda, Zaxby's, KFC, Popeyes, Taco Bell.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's speed of service, but I mean, like, when I think of, like, back in the day, like, who are the standard bearers of fast food? I think of, like, a burger joint. I think of McDonald's. I think of Burger King. I think American fast food is burgers to me, especially, like, growing up in the 90s, but more have entered the space. There's, like, Asian fast food now. There's, fried chicken has its own lane. It always has. But, I think the inherent American fast food experience has always been a burger joint, and McDonald's has been king. I've heard many stories, not only me, but I crave McDonald's after I spend time away from the country. Returning back home, that's the first thing I want. I've heard a lot of overlap there. It's like baked in our DNA to appreciate McDonald's. Those golden arches are home, baby.
Those fries are something else.
Yeah, they hit.
Those fries hit.
Back to your point, some people just want that dopamine hit that's attributed to, like, their craving right then and there, so nothing else will cut it, if you want that specific thing.
You mentioned traditional, like, fast food in the sense of being a burger joint. Here's a controversial take for you. Johnny Rockets.
Yeah.
The diner experience.
The diner experience, just simple menu like we talked about earlier, burger, fries, milkshake, like, can't go wrong there.
I went there recently, still holds up.
Now you're making me hungry for Johnny Rockets.
I think we're making everybody hungry listening to this podcast. This kind of
sorry, guys.
Yeah, okay. I think we should wrap. I think we talked a lot about fast casual and fast food. I think I want to get into the next elevation of that, which is like casual dining.
Okay.
And these are chains across. I think these are mostly chain restaurants around the countries, right? So your TGI Fridays, your Applebee's, your Chili's.
Rest in peace, Red Lobster.
No, Red Lobster's still around. Yeah, my mom still loves that. Yeah, they lowered the amount of restaurants, but they still have a couple. Like at least here in Central Florida. I don't know where you guys are at, but they have a couple here and available within driving distance for me, and we love those cheddar bay biscuits. Trust me.
Oh God, I miss the cheddar bay biscuits.
The cheddar bay biscuits are really good, and they. And recently too, they actually I saw in the news they brought back the endless shrimp, which was interesting on that because you bring up a lot of stuff for that because they bring up which was like one of the marks of what took them down in the first place, but they brought it down, but they brought it for a limited time, and I think there was maybe there's different rules. I don't know all of it, but I think there was kind of different rules on the endless shrimp now. So, and I thought it was pretty interesting because I think like NBC or whatever did a news article and like, wait a minute, didn't this bring you down? How did you bring this up? It's like, oh well, we're doing it differently. But yeah, so fast casual restaurants, favorites. What do you think are your best deals? What's nostalgic to you? All of those things. What do you think,
Yeah, there's been a rise and fall in my heart of many chain restaurants. Like, I think of the first memories of going to a chain restaurant probably would be like, I want to say TGI Fridays, which is really like scaled down in locations, at least here in Central Florida and even Greater Florida. Like, yeah. I think that was like a next tier up the ladder. Like, growing up kind of working class, like, we didn't often dine out to restaurants, usually like special occasions, but that was like one of the first memories. I would say in Florida for sure. And then I think that kind of got us to dip our toes in the chain restaurant scene. So from there, got well acquainted with Applebee's and Chili's and Gators and, a number of different like casual chain restaurants. And they still have a place in my heart. I mean, like we've hit a Chili's not too long ago, and I still have great experiences there. There's something to say about the consistency there. Triple Dipper has been going strong for decades. Decades. I mean, and the value. Can we just circle back to that? I won't harp too much on that, but just like, I thought that was an interesting point. I remember hearing from one of my coworkers, like, her and her son, like, you know, usually families, like, it's more economical to cook. You're always concerned about costs, but, you know, she was mentioning that, oh man, like when we both get meals together at McDonald's, I'm spending over $20. Chili's got a 2 for $20, and like just has better quality food. So it's like you have to weigh your options when you're thinking of your wallet nowadays, and quality and value. But you know, but back to the casual restaurant scene. Yeah, I think Chili's, I think squarely fits into that.
Shout out to Southwest Egg Rolls though. Before you get off that Chili's, I just gotta get a shout out to them. I love those things. I loved them years ago. I still love them now.
Holy Trinity is the Big Mouth Bites, the Southwest Egg Rolls, and your choice of wings. I think it's rock solid in my opinion. You're okay in my book.
That's a good solid choice.
Yeah. Not to shit on the other options. I mean, they're still great, but that's just personal. But yeah, I would say those are the common names that come up when I think of casual restaurants, and still got the place in my heart. I think when I was like, again, starting out, like that was my first foray into restaurants in general. So I think it'll always have that element of nostalgia for me.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
So let's see. Growing up, so I'm from New York. Growing up, our version of restaurants would be, we didn't eat out often, but I mean, growing up, it was always McDonald's. And then, like, when it became, like, casual, like, exposure to, like, fast casual, such as, like, TGI Fridays, I had my first actual exposure to that. I want to say, shout out to AMC Fresh Meadows, but they had a Applebee's in the neighborhood way back when. So that was my first exposure to it.
Okay.
My second exposure was TGI Fridays when I graduated with my bachelor's. Mm-hmm. So because we wanted to go out for some restaurant just to celebrate, and it was in the neighborhood, but back then it was at Green Acres Valley Stream, so RIP that location and the mall. But I think as I moved to Florida, I got more exposed to better, what I would call fast casual restaurants. So like in the concept of like a Miller's Ale House in terms of variety, or Bahama Breeze, or, you know,
RIP to them.
Yeah.
Bahama Breeze.
I would say earlier Kevin mentioned Gators. For those that don't know, it's Gators Dockside. I think that they're seafood, right?
I would say they're more of like a wing house to me.
Yeah, they're a wing house. Sports bar, wing house.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, you know, I haven't been, so I can't speak on it for sure. But I would say there's a few others that are down here. I would say...
What's your favorite?
That's a good question. I definitely enjoyed food from the Chili's we went to a few weeks back. I would say...
against the Chili's.
My go-to, if I was like pulling up... It depends, I guess, on what I'm feeling. Definitely considering wallet options, you know, the 2 for $25 at Applebee's for sure will play a role.
Oh yeah.
I just want to interject. I think like also it's tough for me too to just like single out one, but I also like when I'm in that position, I think another way to answer that is just like, what have you gone back to the most?
Yes.
Like what has been consistent for you and your choice?
I think I know your answer.
Let's see. What would you think the answer is? I'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
I think I know his answer. Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Okay. So
are you final? Final answer?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's Cheddar's.
So yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, and primarily because of variety of options for the company that I go with.
Yeah.
I love their service, and I've never had a bad experience at a Cheddar's. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would say, and that's primarily been like birthdays. So like on my birthday, we'll go to Cheddar's usually, and that's primarily because of the company I go with, the options that they have on the menu. I would say personally, if you're thinking about nostalgia of like what to go back to, I will probably always default to a 3-cheese chicken penne from like Applebee's. And,
Okay.
like their boneless wings.
Yeah, that's
Solid choice.
That's a solid choice. Yeah.
That's always been my preference.
And a menu item, people.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Love it.
But no, I think all of them have their own individuality, and it speaks to a certain group of customers. And I think there's something to love about all of them. Like you said, Mahendra, when you're craving a certain type of dish or a certain type of meal, like I think we all have our go-tos there, and it doesn't matter which restaurant it ends up being. You know, there's certain nostalgia and certain just craving. You gotta have it when you need it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's see. For me, nostalgia for me, I like a bunch of stuff, but nostalgia, the Olive Garden. It's one of those things that I used to go to when I was younger with my dad a lot. And then I also used to go to the restaurant with my mom a lot, you know. So both of my parents enjoyed Olive Garden. They like that big salad. They like the soup, you know, like the unlimited breadsticks, you know, all that stuff. You know, it just catered to us. So we definitely, it's one of those hot spot lunches that we used to go to quite a bit. So the Olive Garden, for sure. I've always enjoyed Outback, especially the bread. I like the bread at Outback, and I like Longhorn. My mom in particular loves Longhorn, and I go there with her, and we have a good meal there, and that's pretty good too. But you know, one thing that's a lot of people will look up, other than the aforementioned ones you guys talked about, which, you know, I enjoy as well, is the one that's kind of like gained in fame these days and really popular, is one that I actually really enjoy going to too. And I'll give you some background on that after I say it, but the Texas Roadhouse. So Texas Roadhouse, number one, those yeast rolls, I don't know what they're putting in them, but people are eating like 50 of them things. It's crazy. There people are knocking them down left and right. And I do too. And it's really hard to, like, I always make sure when I bring the basket out, I say, hey, can I have only like a couple? That's it. Because I know if they put all of them in there, I'm knocking them all out. I'm going to want more. So I just try to limit me on those rolls. And then, and it's I'm a steak guy. And I know right now people are like turning off the podcast right now. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm a steak guy. But when you want to look at your budget and you want something kind of like, you don't want to go into a fine dining, you know, you need to get like lunch or dinner or something really quickly, and you, within reason, you know, you're going to go out, maybe see a movie or something. Texas Roadhouse fits the bill, man. It tastes really good. It's a decent cut of steak. It's really affordable. I could see why it climbed to the top of these casual restaurants. You know, like in you know, according to a lot of the data, that's the number one right now, and I think I could see it. I could see why it's there, and I really enjoy it. So like Texas Roadhouse is there for me. Once we get into the fine dining section, obviously we'll go into a lot of different steakhouses, and we'll kind of like talk about them. But if you want like a decent steak, good steak, and you want a good time, and some other good options too. And so many birthdays there. Like when I go there, there's so many birthdays going on at Texas Roadhouse. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of jarring. I actually asked the service, like, oh, there's a lot of birthdays. She's like, yeah, we get a lot of birthdays, a lot. It's like, oh, interesting. So for your value, that would be my favorite. Nostalgia, the Olive Garden, and let's see, any other ones that we haven't mentioned that I'd like to talk about. You know, a lot of Mexican restaurants, right? Like there's different ones. Some of them not really national chains, really. I mean, I think they're just part of a smaller chain that like, but there's like Don Pablo's. Are they national? Do you know? Does anybody know?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? They're just like a local chain or southeast maybe?
More than likely.
Southeast, southwest?
National chain.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so there's a lot of Mexican. Agave Azul, I like them a lot. Azteca. And these are all, they might be local chains that you guys are not aware of, but there's Mexican restaurants, Mexican restaurants in general. Just love them. We love them a lot.
Can never go wrong.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and different chains. I think I read a weird statistic, and I'm sorry if I get this wrong, but it's like like it's the closest thing to almost everybody in America. Like almost everybody in America is closest to the closest restaurant they have to them is a Mexican restaurant because it's extremely popular. So like one of those things where, and it's really good. So I would say, yeah, I'd say like it's something we didn't mention before. It's like a lot of the Mexican restaurants, and I love them. And I think because we have so much variety here in the Central Florida area, I think it kind of gets lost sometimes in those things because we have so much variety from fast food to fast casual to all the way up to even almost fine dining. I think in that area. So I think it's really interesting how, but yeah, shout out to Mexican restaurants.
Yeah, I have one other thing we haven't covered that we might cover in a later section, but
okay.
Just thinking back to like nostalgia and early entry into dining, and I think I'm going to touch a little bit on what I believe, you can correct me, is a bit of the West Indian experience growing up, but for me, breakfast was a big thing, and particularly diners, and I want to get hyper specific on the Atlantic Diner in
New York
City.
I wanted to say that earlier.
In a beautiful place called Queens. And, shout out to the other boroughs.
It sounds lovely, right?
It's very like foreign. Anyway, yeah, but I think that is also something I don't want to overlook because I know a lot of the restaurants were thinking of like lunch options, dinner options, but breakfast was big. I mean, our family would like light up, like, when are we getting together to hit the diner to get breakfast? And that would spill over into lunch and dinner. Obviously, a diner encapsulates all of that, but I think it's important to bring up.
I have been a patron of Atlantic Diner since I was 5 years old. Mm-hmm. There was one server there who actually retired the same day of my, I think it was 21st or 22nd birthday.
Shout out to them.
Her name was Linda. And
shout out to Linda.
Whenever she saw us walk into Atlantic, and this is before they made all the renovations they have now, because they look a lot better than they were before. But from every time, without fail, when she saw us walk in the door, we had to be seated in her section. Didn't matter. Sweetest woman ever. Linda, if you end up watching this, we miss you. We hope you're well. But I think there's something to be said, like you said, Kev, about going to a diner, getting great diner food. Didn't really matter what time of day it was. If you went clubbing in Queens and you're out at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning before you went home, you made sure you stopped in at Atlantic for food and then you went home. If you're just feeling breakfast for dinner one night, Atlantic was your go-to. There was something about the service, quality of food, and just convenience of just being in a centralized location that was convenient enough to get to. So I think, they were a great experience. There's other diners for sure. Not to say that they are the only one with great service, but they're, I think, one of the more popular diners, especially for the West Indian community, because it's central to, the area that we all grew up in.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you'll walk in there and you'll be able to throw a stone and meet someone that you know.
And it works, and people try to emulate. I didn't want to like overlook it, but as we're in casual, I think there's a big space. I mean, there's the International House of Pancakes that tries to replicate this experience as well. It's well loved, I think, by a lot of different patrons.
Yeah, I mean, you get your Denny's, your IHOPs, and then you have like Kiki's, and then one local place in Winter Park that is above all the rest, in my opinion, Briar Patch.
Yeah, hands down. I
mean, phenomenal breakfast and brunch, legendary here in the Central Florida area. The I did like a mom and pop place. Mm-hmm. Mom and pop like breakfast places, love it. But I'm gonna tell you right now, you guys are gonna hate me. That McDonald's breakfast, bro. I'm just telling you.
How much are they paying you?
I don't know, man. That McDonald's
are you sure they're not
hits.
slipping you anything under the side?
Oh, man, I'm telling you, they hit, bro. It hits. You get that McDonald's, you get those hash brown, which is a weird shape. I don't know. You just eat that thing, and then you just get it with like a bacon, egg, and cheese. Which, a bacon, egg, and cheese, coming from Brooklyn, right? You get the best bacon, egg, and cheese in New York, right? But I just like any variation of bacon, egg, and cheese, I think. I just love it. I get it on a biscuit, get it on a bun, get it whatever. I just like I like a bacon, egg, and cheese. So it's just it's a good breakfast item.
Yeah. I think certain options, like just because we're not so inundated with it, like coming out of New York, like we're a little bit less elitist about it, and we're just trying to kind of get a taste for what we were, once took for granted at a certain point. But
Sure.
bacon, egg, and cheese, I think, is there. The diner experience is there.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think my cousin-in-law, but I still calls him my cousin, whatever. But he mentions that, he loves that White Castle breakfast. That White Castle breakfast hits, and it's that I've had it with him, and I was like, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
It does hit something. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past him. But that's a great thing you brought up there. We mentioned apps earlier, so it kind of leads us into I think a third topic, which is fine dining. I think so. In fine dining, there's have been obviously we're talking about the restaurants and maybe some things that are here located in Central Florida, maybe not necessarily chains also, but there are the apps have gotten into it, and the Resi app. And for those of you who don't know the Resi app, they have a bunch of restaurants that are located on the Resi app where you can get certain points, and after certain points you can get discounts and maybe credits on those discounts for especially if you have an American Express card or something like that, where you get those deals on it where you get a credit.
Folks might be familiar with Open Table as well.
Oh yeah, Open Table too.
Yeah.
So. I did a lot of these restaurants. I know there's a local place down here that is a developer, and they have some restaurants under their flag, and then so they have their own
reservation system, right?
Not only reservation system, but a membership system.
Yeah, loyalty
program, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's trying to collect data, and and then that data helps them figure out what they want to serve and all that stuff. But I thought it was really interesting that it's into fine dining, the Resi thing. That really turns me off. I like the idea that I could get money back, but then now that's just one more extra thing I'm doing. Kind of takes away from the experiences. But but fine dining, great steakhouses around. I'm gonna start with that because I think people were maybe flipping out when I talked about Texas Roadhouse, but they said we have
he will redeem himself.
Yeah, so we have you get Ruth Chris, you
Morton's.
have Morton's, which one of my personal favorites. Morton's down here, we have a Morton's. I know that's a chain, but it's a very limited chain, and we have one down here in the Dr. Phillips area, in the Dr. Phillips Restaurant Row area, and then Morton's. Wow, what a great steak. Ruth Chris, it used to be really good for me. It used to be one of my top choices, and now it's kind of not anymore. It's it's a little bit different. I'm not too sure what they're done. I know they got taken over by, I think, private equity or some sort, and it kind of changed. But there's Fleming's too. Eddie V's were more known for their seafood, but they have a great steak there too. And most, they kind of do those things interchangeably. A lot of those restaurants, they have that, a great steak and a great seafood options. They have a local restaurant here called The H. It's really good. That's pretty good. What are steakhouses? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think of the corporate ones as well. I know we've been talking about a lot of chains, but that doesn't necessarily take away from the quality of these places, especially when we get into the upscale fine dining category. I think they all do a great job. Others I'd add to the list, probably an STK.
Ooh, STK.
Yes.
I think, as we're talking about New York, I think a Smith & Wolinski, that's a corporate steakhouse, but I think they do a good job. There's locations all over. The category, I think, is more forgiving for chain restaurants, even with kind of those boutique restaurants you want to throw in the mix. I think, we talked about private equity. Certainly, they have a lane there within their private restaurants. Necessarily private, but boutique individual restaurants that are not chains. But yeah, I think those are great examples, and I think steakhouses is what initially comes to mind when I think of the fine dining category. Obviously, like anything, America has brought in so many different cuisines, and they all have their place in each dining category. There's fine dining Asian, there's fine dining
Italian,
Mexican, Italian, all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, North Italia, one of my favorite, Italian, going upscale a little bit, man, they're so good. Bonefish. There was one that I'm trying to remember exactly, but there was it's right there in Restaurant Row.
Like
It's right
Eddie
next to
V's
North.
or something.
No. It's right next to North Italia, with next door.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on it. But
Yeah. That's a good one too. What do you think? What other fine dining establishments you enjoy there, Ryan?
Well, obviously, like
I'm gonna
when
pull it up because I was trying to figure it out.
I mean, I would pull it up on my phone to provide a list, but I would say like so I'll backtrack in answering your question a tiny bit, and then I'll answer it fully. Backtrack to say that coming from New York, quoting what Chris said, what Kevin said earlier, is that like I'm a little biased towards fine dining when you grow up in New York, where like a lot of restaurants exist, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a huge amount of option there.
Okay.
I would say, having hung out with you guys since I've moved down here, I've been exposed to a lot more different restaurants, right? So that's always been great. I really don't have a favorite. I think we've gone to a variety of amazing restaurants, and I think they've all been great. If I had to pick, that's hard. It's really hard to narrow down one that I think, but I like North Italia, I think. So a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to throw this question to both Mahendra and Kevin here, we went to an Indonesian style restaurant, Mamak. Would you guys consider that restaurant to be not fine dining per se, but maybe on the upper echelons of dining, primarily because of the interior? Or would you consider it more of like a casual restaurant on the level of like an Applebee's?
And Mahendra might have different thoughts on this. I think there's a lot of overlapping categories in these Venn diagrams, and a lot of concepts don't cleanly fit in each space. And I think that example is one of those that I wouldn't say it's casual, but I wouldn't say it's fine dining
Either.
You know,
Okay.
I think I've just looked up like industry terms that are all subjective, but like I think are like polished casual or upscale casual for that. And in my opinion, like anything that's considered upscale or fine dining or polished, whatever the adjective you want to use for higher quality, to me would be quality food, quality drinks. Like typically they'll have a beverage program.
Sure.
It's a wine menu. If it's if it's an Asian concept, sake menu, cocktail menu.
Right.
Which that concept you referenced earlier, it is kind of like a street kitchen type environment, Asian street kitchen environment that has small plates, it's quick service, but there is more upscale options there. You can get a glass of wine there. There were cocktails that they made, in-house. So that checks a lot of different boxes. But I think it's a fair option to bring up if you're thinking of just the broader category of upscale elevated dining. I would say that's in there, and I think that's one of those overlaps where like sometimes speed of service does not isolate you to casual,
right?
Because there are like tapas concepts, small plates concepts that can be fancy, and I think there's even some chain ones as well, but and that's become a bigger thing as well. Just a trend with consumers is like, maybe we just do appetizers and just drinks. Traditional meal is kind of not antiquated, but it is changing a bit.
Speaking on that topic, we've been to quite a few different places where we go to grab a drink, and they have some great food options too. So it's hard to really, when I think of fine dining, I think of great food, right? It's hard to just pick a restaurant that has just great food and good quality service. So long-winded answer to your question, Mahendra, but I don't really have a preference.
Okay. So the one I couldn't remember, Ocean Prime.
Ocean Prime's up there.
Ocean Prime is really great seafood, really high end, like it's pretty good, nice. One steakhouse I didn't put on the menu that I just remembered too is Del Frisco's. I like Del Frisco's, very good steakhouse. Some local establishments, they have something called there's Vines here in locally, and I like Vines a lot. I like the atmosphere. I like how they're like their food. It's a smaller restaurant, fine dining in a smaller restaurant, which is really, really nice, intimate. You take a date there, all that stuff, because sometimes it's really interesting because like Eddie V's, for example, is really nice, but it gets kind of loud in there.
Yeah.
And I think it's the way how they design like where the bar area is, and then like you have a lot of things going on in there, and then it's like right next to the main dining area. So you're in the main dining area, and it gets kind of loud. And I think the acoustics get bad in there, which when you're paying that price, you kind of don't want that. You kind of like want more of you want jazz playing in the background or something, something like that.
It's an important element. I think like I have like many different ways to score a restaurant if it like fits cleanly in that category, and then I evaluate certain things a little bit more. I scrutinize some elements a little bit more than I would a casual with a fine dining. So, you mentioned food quality.
Yeah.
That has to be high in my opinion. If
right.
You're paying a premium for the food, I think it should be that, but there's more that you're paying as well. It's not just the food in these environments. Presentation of the
quality
restaurant,
of service.
the service, yeah. I think the beverage options I mentioned earlier, there's a lot more. And then ambiance too, like is it really the experience, all of that, all of those things play into the overall experience. So I think you have to be a little bit less forgiving in those environments if like you are going there. Typically, that's reserved for a lot of folks, like for special occasions. Like not everyone has the privilege of dining in these environments regularly. They're usually for kind of a big moment in your life.
Right.
These check averages are not low and not economical, and also a really unique curated experience that may not be for everyone as well. There's certainly restaurants that kind of give the impression of being stuffy to some folks. It can be a bit intimidating to get into these environments.
For sure.
So that appreciation can grow over time, but I think it is a big jump going from the casual concepts we talked about into these more refined concepts. And before I toss it over, Mahendra, I want to circle back on something else you mentioned, Ryan, like two things, like from the very beginning, decision fatigue.
Yep.
And then just talking about like our experience in New York. We're both New York guys. I think market plays in so much into this discussion because, those that are coming from like metropolitan cities, like very densely populated cities.
Yeah.
There's so many options to cater to so many people.
Yep.
And they're all capitalists. They have to make money. So they have to be so competitive. So, I think even like some metropolitan cities, I know New York, like chain restaurants are not readily available for, the residents there. Like, and typically you wouldn't think of them initially because there's so many great local restaurants. And I think that plays into a lot of metro cities, but that decision fatigue, I'm sure will come into play there of trying to like pick a restaurant that is your favorite because there's so many. And I think even like if we talked about like steakhouses, I know that one came up to mind first for fine dining.
Yeah.
There's so many great steakhouses in New York City. And I think
you
give and take, like every restaurant, I would venture to say, not every, but highly rated restaurants in New York City all have a great steak on the menu.
Right.
And it's never about the steak. It's probably, your favorite is probably about the experience and so many other factors. But certain cities are blessed in that regard where, the competition is so high, you will have a great quality product for the fine dining lane, really, most lanes. But your point of just about bringing up ambiance, I think that made me kind of think of all of these things playing in together because you have to take that whole picture. It's not like just with the food, as we talked about with kind of casual restaurants.
Right.
We're more forgiving there. Like if McDonald's doesn't like give me 5-star service, but the burger hits the same way it does and the price stays the same, I'll look past that. So
right.
I think it's something you got to bring up.
No, fair enough.
I want to talk more about the experience that you talked about there, right?
Sure.
So something came to mind because we kind of did this too, and I do this a lot, like birthdays and stuff too. What do you think about large groups in a fine dining experience? Because that experience throws everyone off. Mm-hmm. For one, it'll throw off all of your participants that's there, because we might not be able to have a great conversation because they usually assemble long tables and stuff like that. The establishment that's doing fine dining, this is a headache for them, because now they have to put tables together, and they also have to have maybe multiple servers do it, where they normally have the experience of just one server where they come around and explain everything, do the whole thing with the table, the cloths, different colors, whatever it may be. And then now they're kind of thrown off, and they're kind of just, and then also the intimacy, the experience, the quality of the food maybe too, because now they want to make sure everybody gets served at the same time, all that stuff. What are your thoughts on that, large groups in the fine dining experience? Yay or nay?
Yeah, I would say it's tough. Like in general, like it's an atypical experience than what that restaurant consistently is used to. Like they're used to a standard party. They could define that. I mean, some restaurants are geared towards larger than others, but whatever that number is, there's that healthy number they're used to servicing. And then when you talk about a large party, that goes outside of that. So the experience will never be optimized. I think you'll have to give up certain wants there for the level of service, particular in fine dining. I think the kind of speed will be impacted because it's such a larger group. So you probably, like, in your mind, that weighs on you. Like it might take a little bit longer to get the food out. We're a party of, say, 8 or 10. That's a lot of food to prep compared to a smaller 3 or 4 table party. So, and they usually will want to kind of deliver the food at the same time just to optimize the experience. That plays into it. Experience plays into everything in fine dining. But yeah, I think large parties, I am considering so many factors. I know for me, I'm I want to get a round table so I can see everyone and talk to everybody.
Yes.
I don't want to be sat in this section because it echoes in there. I want to hear. I don't want to be screaming. Or if it's just a loud kind of restaurant that has a bar, I'm seated near the bar. It's a loud environment there. So the experience would be paramount. I think of large parties associated with, celebrating some sort of event. It's some sort of celebration or gathering that is momentous. Some folks just might have a large party, large family, or a large friend group, and that's kind of an everyday thing. But for me, when it comes up, I try to think of places that don't have too much of a complex menu or structure, that are a little bit more casual. Okay. It's hard for me to do the fine dining unless I vetted out that this restaurant has a business format for it. Some steakhouses, they have a private dining room, and they have private dining hosts, and there's an event manager that helps you set up that. So that's when we're thinking of your definition of large. I would think if it's 20 or so, you're kind of being put in talks with this event specialist to help coordinate this curated experience. So there are places that can do it well. I know I was critical on it initially, but that ultimately factors into how much you want to spend on that experience too.
Yeah,
you get what you pay for. So
for sure,
those are just what initially comes to mind.
I would say, so I have a slightly funny take on that, and then I'll give my experience to it. I would say, to answer Mahendra's question first, I think there's something to be said about wanting to give your group that experience of being in a fine dining restaurant, but you would also have to take into consideration, have they been exposed to it previously? Because if you're bringing someone who hasn't been exposed to that level of dining, they end up being like a fish out of water, right? And it may or may not ruin the entire group's evening if you have to constantly be watching to explain things to them as things are going on. I mentioned something funny earlier, so I'll give the funny story now. In a casual environment, which was a Red Lobster sit down, One of my cousins is a lawyer, and when he graduated law school, we took about 25 people out to lunch to celebrate his graduation. So positive story there, right? We went to Red Lobster. You would think most people go to Red Lobster, they order seafood. Out of those 20 to 25 people, I would say if it was 20, it might have been like 16 out of 20. If it was 25, it might have been like more than 20 out of 25 ordered the easiest thing on the menu just because they didn't want to order seafood. And we all ordered, myself included, chicken tenders and fries, and we enjoyed the biscuits. Like, you talk about wanting to experience an experience. None of us really cared about it. We just wanted what we wanted, which was something easy. And like I said, we enjoyed the biscuits, right? On the flip side of that, I will say that recently my mom turned 70. Shout out to my mom. Looks amazing for her age. We took her out to dinner at a Brazilian steakhouse. So for those that haven't been to a Brazilian steakhouse, they bring around different types of meat, and if you want it on a skewer, and they will cut you a piece if you want it. And you have a little card on the table that is 2 colors. There's green for if you want meat, and red for stop bringing meat to the table. We went as part of a big group. I would say that of that big group, quite a few people have never been to that type of establishment before.
Okay.
I've been to that kind of establishment only once before, but it was a while ago. So I was kind of sort of familiar with it, but then kind of not. So it was like a revamping of my education there in terms of how it all worked. But why I brought up experience when I first answered your question was that for the group members that were not experienced in the concept, it took the restaurant a little bit to explain everything, explain the menu, make everyone feel comfortable in, participating in that type of venue. We did have a party room option, but we didn't realize at the time that that was something you had to specially request. We thought that once they heard a group size that they would automatically give us the room, but they didn't. So that was education for us there when we picked that venue. The food was great, and the lack of experience of the rest of the group didn't impact the experience overall at all. But it is something to be said about being conscious of like the group you're bringing to these types of restaurants.
That's a great point.
Yeah, great. Yeah, that's great alternative. Well, not alternative. Sorry, great addition to larger group. Is everyone going to have the same experience, right? Yeah. And if they're going to enjoy that kind of experience. We talked briefly about that with something I wanted to do, right? Mm-hmm. With grouping a group of people where they're family members and kind of like treating them to something. And then we ultimately backed away from doing that because something like that you just mentioned, right? Like a lot of them probably wouldn't enjoy that kind of experience. I wanted to give them that experience because I know they'd never had it. And I was hoping that they maybe want to enjoy that. But then ultimately we realized that they probably wouldn't because they would probably feel uncomfortable in those situations or not particularly the kind of food that they would want, or they would probably just search for something else. So ultimately didn't do that idea, but yeah, I think that's a great point on bringing up those kind of experiences and with the, in addition to just numbers of people, having to see if anybody all of them would really enjoy it. Mine stays on green. I don't know about you. When I'm out there, Texas Day Brazil or something like that, I think things are really. He's like, "Do you know you're supposed to?" I know. I don't. No, you just go ahead. Keep on coming.
I would say for me, it depends on the company, right? Like if I'm with someone, like let's say you guys, and I'm going to a steakhouse, the meat's on green because I like steak, right? Okay. But I was conscious of the group that I was with, and I knew that not everyone in that group ate steak, so they did bring around like lamb and chicken, but like they tend to bring around a bit more steak than anything else.
Yeah.
Right? So I was kind of conscious of like how much I ate versus like what I did take versus what I didn't take. So yeah, that was an interesting experience, just kind of having to personalize that for myself based off the group I was with.
Okay, cool.
These are great points. Yeah, because when I answered initially, I think I factored in my group and like my group of friends. But yeah, it's really a big determining factor. And I think when it comes to like being the host of this and putting it together, like for me personally, I really want to curate a good experience. I've been like the restaurant guy in my circle, so people usually like just defer to me to kind of coordinate that. But I've took some big swings with some folks that are just like not up for that type of environment. And then I've learned the hard way that, I have to be conscious of like people's preferences, or else I'm going to ruin the experience for myself trying to create something, trying to like give them the same excitement that I felt stepping into this, but it might not be for them. We said that like, different strokes for different folks. And I think how I've gotten like around that, like if it fell on me to kind of arrange that, obviously I've gotten to know like my personal friends and preferences really well over time. But like, say if it's like with a new group, like I find that they rank certain elements of the experience differently. They prioritize certain things differently. And sometimes not all of them have to be there, and sometimes all three. And right. I think like the three most common that I've found have been, hey, how would you rank a good experience in terms of the food, in terms of the drinks, and in terms of the vibe? And I think that covers a lot, where like some people might be like, okay, I prioritize vibe. I'm paying a lot for this experience. I want it to be opulent. I want to go to Del Frisco's and see chandeliers and like be blown away with the service. Like the vibe, the experience, I think that captures that. Other people are like, I don't really care about that, the pomp and circumstance. I just want good food. I want the best steak. I could eat like in a divey restaurant, but if they kill it with the steak, I'm set. And I'm willing to pay a premium for that. And then there's those that prioritize drinks, and not saying like it has to be one or the other. There's a prioritization. So like this person would weight certain categories much heavily than others, and I think we all have people in our circle we can think of that either thinking back to the experience or like thinking ahead, like, ooh, if they mess up his old fashioned, he is going to be a sourpuss all night. Or if they mess up his steak, he's going to just be up in arms and just like disengage the whole dinner. Or she, or, whoever. But I think those three I've found personally to be good catch-alls to kind of like decide on the format, the concept for a large party.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's get into the topic about West Indian restaurants, because we didn't really hit that yet, but I think it'll be really unique to talk about that as far as like different varieties of food, and we're not gonna put any categories on this because West Indian food, there's very a niche market as it is. It's mom and pop restaurants, and Kevin, why don't you start us off about some West Indian restaurants you enjoy?
Yeah, I think the dish that crosses over every West Indian country involves fried rice. So I'd be remiss if I don't start with that. I think it's a very contentious topic on who has the best, and there's rise and falls of those big players. I think all the time. I think it's something that the West Indian community scrutinizes, and they're very attentive. If they change a cook, I think those West Indian men know and women know as soon as you bring that home. So I'd say like, fried rice is what I think of first. I think that's huge in the culture across the Caribbean as well. Like everyone's take on it is really cool, and there's different flavors, different spices involved. But I think locally here and New York, like my introduction was really in kind of first within Richmond Hill, within Queens, kind of Little Guyana now, and has kind of the most, I think, options there. Kite Shore and Sing's have always been like staples in my household. Depending on who the cook is determines which destination my father decides to take us to. But and there's a huge like banquet hall business there to bring our more of our family in. But I'd say that's a good starting point. There's more to that as well. I think that's a good like barometer of like how good of a restaurant they are, and just
if their fried rice tastes great.
I think so. I think that would be the first thing I would test out. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think
If
a lot of people, West Indian people, will tell you that that's what they would taste. Yeah.
if we're talking just West Indian in general,
Yeah.
and I think there's arguments to be made for specific dishes that, even though they are shared, they might be more celebrated in some countries. Whether this country does the curry better, this country does the roti better. There's arguments every day on Instagram, but fried rice seems to be a unifying one. I wanted to start with, but curious to hear you guys take.
Yeah, Ryan, what do you think?
So similar to you, Kev, I agree 100%. I think fried rice is a great introduction to, any of the Caribbean countries and how they cook their food, and you can learn so much from how someone makes their fried rice. Our culture in general is just so vast that it's hard to pinpoint everything that tastes great within our culture, right? I mean, when I think West Indian, I think of some of the like the pastries, right? So earlier today we went to Sing's here in Orlando, but my introduction to it was Sing's in New York. So I'm curious to know the difference and how they taste. My dad is friends with the owner of Kai Chor on Lefferts Boulevard and Jamaica Avenue in Queens. So shout out to Danny and the entire Kai Chor team there. That was our go-to restaurant when we were in New York. Right around the corner was Caribbean Cabana. You have Carafesta in the Bronx, and on Liberty Avenue you have Tropical Jade. There's so many great restaurants that I think is a testament to the Guyanese culture, but then West Indian culture in general, because everyone cooks differently and everyone loves the way that they cook. But in learning how someone else makes a dish that you know how to make is interesting, because then you get to learn how to make it a different way. And I think anyone that is a decently well cook in the Caribbean culture knows that that's pretty much a good thing to learn to cook in another way, especially if you don't have certain spices on hand, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, Kev, I think every country has their debate on like who makes what better, right? But the fact that we even have some of these items is amazing, right? Like you have the rotis, the dal puris, you have the pastries, Solara that we took a look at earlier. There's cheese roll, pine tart, black eye, mitai, salseo. You've got bara, Palari, Wade, which in itself, I think every dish is unique to a certain time of the year, right? And not just certain times of the year, but maybe even when you're in the mood for it, you definitely want to have it. And I know a popular one that everyone's going to probably spam us in the comments with is pepper pot, right? So we can't talk about West Indian culture and talk about at least Guyanese cuisine without mentioning pepper pot. And, not everyone maybe likes it or can make it, but I think a lot of us will have grown up having that on Christmas morning with a nice hot piece of bread or roti.
Yes. All year round.
Yeah, that's if you haven't noticed, people. Kevin's big pro pepper pot.
I've been campaigning. I'll go door to door. I don't know what I need to do to make them serve this.
Lots of petitions we need to sign.
If any of you can help, please let me know.
Yeah, I think these are all great. Items there. I think I think to highlight some of the ones here in Central Florida, we have Legends down here. We have Kai Chor. We have Sing's Roti Shop. We have the Bakery Place.
We have Tamari's.
We have Tamari. We have the Caribbean Super Center to get like your grocery items along with food bakery items if you needed to get to. So I think if you want to talk about specific food from a lot of these restaurants, I can't say this with complete confidence because not all West Indian restaurants are the same, right? Like, because, some might be Trinidadian, and those in particular, for me, if I go there, what I'm testing out is the doubles, right?
Fair.
So if we get some good doubles there,
Yeah.
If they're a Trinidadian one, like if you go to a West Indian restaurant and it's maybe Guyanese, you won't see that there because they don't make doubles. That's not their. Maybe they do, but that's not their. That's not where it came from. This is more of a West Indian dish. I'm sorry, Trinidadian dish. I apologize. And but if the West Indian restaurant happens to be Trinidadian, I'm testing out those doubles, right?
Yeah.
I gotta see if it's good. There's a couple locations here that I go for it. We just, like we mentioned, Sing's Roti Shop here, and then there was also Banos in Kissimmee. Did I get them? There used to be a cart that used to be here. It was near my cousin, and she introduced me to it. It was very good, but I think they moved locations, and I don't know where it is. I've been trying to track them down on a doubles map. I don't know, but I can't find them. These are things that I'm looking for. Definitely fried rice. I agree with you 100%. Like I have to try it out, see how it's going. If it's Jamaican, another type of West Indian food, then I'm doing oxtail and rice.
Yeah.
Gotta do the oxtail. Oh man, that is some good eating right there. If it's Jamaican, I do that, and spicy beef patty.
Yeah.
Gotta check out that spicy beef patty. Even to the point where it's like a small appetizer, but even like locations now, I believe it's called like juicy patty. That's all they do.
Yeah.
It's a beef patty, right? And that so we're trying try those things out. Such different varieties. I implore any of you who are listening out there, if you're not West Indian and you haven't tried any West Indian food, that you should try it out. Go to these locations that we mentioned. If you live in the Central Florida area, I just mentioned it. If you live in the New York area, those are kind of similar places with names that you could find. And if you're not in those areas, then seek it out. Seek it out in your community.
There are restaurants that also deliver to you too, if you want to try that out. So feel free to take a look. The dishes there are multitude, so you'll get a variety of different spice levels. Try a little bit of everything. You don't know what you like until you've had them, right?
Yeah, family style is important too. Like if you go to traditional Indian restaurants, you'll notice that a lot of things are served like family style, right? And West Indian food is kind of a lot too, and they could be shared, and especially if you have a roti for the table. And if you have, different curries, you could try different curries from each other and try that out and share. I would encourage everybody to do that for the West Indian culture. But we kind of wanted to add that in there because we're talking about different dishes, and we wanted to as a cultural nod, we wanted to say that there's something in an area maybe you haven't tried, and West Indian dishes I think is one of those unique areas that a lot of people haven't tried yet, and they should.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think we talked about a few barometer dishes that I think we want the first people experience it for the first time. Start out with that, but there's so much more. Ryan listed a whole bunch, and I think it complements a lot of the diversity in the West Indies. I think some of the dishes are of Indian influence, like they have their own style of curry that all of the West Indies does. It's whether it's Trini or Guyanese or Jamaican as well. And different flavors you pick up on all, peppers, I think in Guyana and Trinidad, wiri wiri is king, and, Scotch bonnet, is king in Jamaica, and they all have their own flavor profiles that is beautiful. Pepper pot. Oh God, I cannot talk enough about pepper pot. But
we'll have to do a whole podcast episode on pepper pot.
But there are dishes that are truly native to the native peoples of the West Indies and Guyana in particular. So that's one dish that is authentic to Guyana is pepper pot, baked into its history. I think of dishes like garlic pork as well. That's baked into the fabric. There's some unique ones that in Trinidad as well. I think they do their own take on foods. Whether it's doubles as you mentioned or you try pilau, cascadu, there's a lot of different dishes. So you could go beyond that as well and get into the more advanced, the idea is to come back and try different things. And I think here in Central Florida, we mentioned a lot of great restaurants. I think one that can be a one-stop shop for a lot is the Caribbean Supercenter here. I know many people in Florida that drive hundreds of miles to just go visit there and stock up their freezers.
Yeah. Sure.
It is a unique offering here in Central Florida. I think, obviously the New York market is serviced a little bit more heavier and has a little bit more population there. But
with local stores too, just local stores and local sourcing. But I think what's unique about Caribbean Supercenter is how large it is.
Yeah.
And how big in the options you get, right? So I think that's really good. But thank you for sharing about West Indian food. I think it's really important about adding to our food conversation. All right. Well, thank you guys. I think that was really informative, and we covered a lot of wide range of food today.
Yeah.
Get hungry.
To the point we're all hungry. I think we're going to go ahead and get out of here today and get some food ourselves. But like mentioning before, we are at, if you want to send us an email, we're at castnetpod@gmail.com. Please remember to click like and subscribe so you can get all of our content right when we release them. For now, we'll say goodbye. Thank you for listening.
See you guys in the next episode.
Peace.